All right, it's 7 o'clock. Good evening. Am I on? Yep, I'm on. Good evening and welcome to the regular city council meeting in the city of TK, South Carolina. Today is Monday, June 21st, 2021. I say that for the TV and the recording because all of you already know what it is, right? Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, let's get started with a special presentation of the Coffee Bean City. City Manager Charlie Funderburk is going to talk about coffee beans.
All right, I'll do this from up here tonight, Mayor and Council. So good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is going to exceed the 3 minutes, so I apologize in advance. 2019 ended up being one of the most difficult years for me professionally. On the heels of that, we rolled into 2020, and all that it tried to take away from us. Schools closed to in-person learning, parks closed, events were canceled, and businesses ordered employees to stay home. We closed ourselves off. We closed ourselves off from each other. As we entered summer, riots broke out in cities around the country. It got to the point where every time I turned on the evening news, I was seeing fear and hate and anger. I wasn't able to meet face-to-face with all the department heads unless it was through a computer screen. By June, the most popular phrase was, "You're still on mute." Our staff was being required to work solo and not with their fellow coworkers. Our people were working to get 100% of the work done with only half the amount of people. As staff came back together in the fall, I noticed they were becoming even more siloed. Not only were departments separating from each other, people within the departments were separating. We were becoming a different organization than the one that hired me 20 years ago. I almost didn't recognize who we were. Each week, I would hear from at least one department head about either professional or personal struggles they or members of their team were going through. I knew we had to change. I searched and searched for the right words or the right actions to help us move forward. And then I found John Gordon. John is a best-selling author who has written a lot of books on teams and organization. My wife was reading a book called The Energy Bus. She kept telling me to read it for months, but like a typical husband, I didn't listen. I finally picked up a copy of The Power of Positive Leadership and couldn't put it down. After reading it, I went back and read The Energy Bus. At this point, I knew I was on the right track. Over the winter, I took time and met with each department. I told them we were going to change our culture, and that in the years to come, we were going to look back on 2021 as one of the greatest years in the history of our city. We were going to get back to being a family, the way it was when Dora and Tim were hired a long time before me, so I won't date them. And yes, even when I was hired in 2001. We're going to look after one another and care about one another. We're going to put an emphasis on our people and not on things. It was shortly after those meetings, Chief Parker stumbled on a book titled The Coffee Bean. He encouraged me to read it. After letting it sit on my desk for a few days, I finally took it home and read. 20 minutes later, I was hooked. I'm going to tell you about the Coffee Bean message in just a second, but first I think it's important to understand the background of one of the authors. John Gordon was one of the authors, but Damon West, well, he's the coffee bean guy. Damon grew up in a great home in southeast Texas in a town called Port Arthur, down near the border of Louisiana. Damon went on to play Division I football as a quarterback at North Texas University. After getting injured and seeing his football career die, Damon started partying. At first it was booze, then cocaine, then years later, living in Dallas, Texas, he became addicted to crystal meth. And on June 30th, 2008, Damon was arrested by Dallas SWAT. You see, Damon wasn't just an addict. He started breaking into homes and stealing to feed his meth addiction. Because he was working with others, he was charged with organized crime and was sentenced to 65 years in maximum security prison. While waiting to be transferred to prison from the county jail, he met a man he calls Mr. Jackson. He asked Mr. Jackson, How am I supposed to survive a life sentence in one of the meanest, toughest prisons in the Texas prison system? Mr. Jackson told him two things that are two of the best lessons any of us will ever hear. He said, first, you're going to have to fight. Each day, someone or something is going to come at you, and you're going to have to fight. You'll lose a lot of fights, maybe even more than you win, but you have to fight. The second thing he told Damon was about the coffee bean. You see, Damon's mom made him promise that he would not change into something he wasn't raised to be. He had to promise that he wasn't going to join a gang or come back with prison tattoos or become a killer. Basically, don't let prison make you into a criminal. Mr. Jackson explained that life inside a prison is like a pot of boiling water. And he asked Damon, what happens when you put a carrot in that pot of boiling water? Damon replied, well, it turns soft and it gets mushy. Mr. Jackson then asked, what happens when you put an egg in that pot of boiling water? And Damon replied, it gets hard. It turns into a hard-boiled egg. And finally, Mr. Jackson asked him, what happens when you put a coffee bean into that pot of boiling water? And Damon didn't know. Mr. Jackson explained the coffee bean turns the water into coffee. So we have a choice in life each and every day. We can let that pot of boiling water called life make us afraid and make us weak like the carrot. We can let it make us angry and harden our hearts like the egg. Or we can change the water like the coffee bean. You see, the smallest of the three objects was put in the same water, but it stayed a coffee bean. It stayed true to itself, and it changed its environment. It's such a simple but extremely powerful message. After serving 7.5 years in prison, Damon was able to get paroled. 2 years after that, Damon was named Citizen of the Year by a local organization in Beaumont, Texas. When asked by the parole board to describe in one word what he wanted to be if allowed to leave prison, he responded instantly with, useful. Since that time, he has been into countless schools and college football programs and prisons to bring them his story and to spread the message of the coffee bean. It was after reading that book, I knew which direction I wanted us to go as an organization. Department heads and I have completed workshops on the power of positive leadership and the energy bus. They were 100% on board. We began talking about our mission, which you've got up here now, and I'll read it. We are a family that is accountable to each other while serving with compassion, integrity, and optimism. Adversity will not deter us from having a positive, meaningful impact on our community. And that is the mission statement that the leaders of our organization came up with as we went through those workshops. They also created a vision, celebrating and serving our people today while working together for a better tomorrow. I couldn't have been prouder of our staff. They have since all gotten copies of the coffee bean, and they've shared them with the members of their teams. This spring, I reached out to Damon as I learned he and his team had created coffee bean clubs for the schools. I asked him if he had ever thought about creating a coffee bean city. Honestly, I wasn't sure if I'd hear back from him. He messaged me back and invited a couple of us down to Columbia this past May as he was speaking at the prisons in Columbia as well as a local school. He and I have exchanged several messages in a short period, but he is committed to helping us be the country's first coffee bean city. You see, after spending a little over a year watching nothing but carrots and eggs on the evening news, we need to do our part to change. Maybe we just change hearts and minds on staff, and maybe we just change hearts and minds of a few people in our community. Or maybe, just maybe, we change our entire community, county, and state. Being a coffee bean is about focusing on the positive each day. It's about focusing on the things we can control and making a positive difference. We aren't talking about looking at the world with rose-colored glasses. There are going to be bad moments or bad days. We can choose to focus on that negativity, or we can focus on the positivity. It's about replacing have to with get to. It's about focusing on the things we can control. And in life, I believe 100%, there are 4 things that you can change or control. And that's what you think, what you say, what you feel, and what you do. So if we can control what we think, why not think about the good things? If we can control what we say, why not say good things? If we can control what we do, why not be servant leaders and help someone? If we can control how we feel, why not focus on the good feelings? We can go through life focused on problems, or we can focus on getting better. And we can focus on excuses, or we can focus on being better. On June 9th, we had our first employee gathering in over a year. At this meeting, I told every employee, We can't all be supervisors, but every single one of them can be a leader. And I ask them all to be leaders by encouraging others and telling them that they can succeed. I ask them to focus on making we greater than me. I've asked them all to join us in making TKK the first coffee bean city in America. And then I'll show them this. Tim, if you can play the video.
Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Damon West, the Coffee Bean Guy. Listen, I gotta tell y'all, I'm honored to find out that your city is gonna become the first coffee bean city in the entire United States of America. When John Gordon and I wrote the book, The Coffee Bean, we thought, well, we'll have an impact with this book. It'll reach far and wide. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined there'd be an entire city that was dedicated to making each resident, each person in your town into a coffee bean. Because remember, that pot of boiling water called life, we get three choices how we're going to respond. We can be like the carrot that turns soft and sad and weak in the pot of boiling water called life. Or we can be like the egg that turns hard, mad and mean on the inside. The heart becomes hardened in some of us. Or we can be like that coffee bean that jumps in that pot of boiling water called life and changes the pot of boiling water into a pot of coffee. In 2020, we were faced with one of the most difficult times in all of recorded human history, but we made it through. We found out that sometimes in life, things don't necessarily happen to us as they happen for us. In this short time of your history, you've gone through a lot of rapid growth, and you saw a period where everybody focused on things, not on people. Well, now that all changes. Now we're going to commit to making everybody in your town into a coffee bean. And your city is going to be known as the first coffee bean city in America. So are you with me? I'm looking forward to it. Listen, my call to action to each and every one of y'all out there watching this right now is you go out there and you go be a coffee bean. Be a coffee bean, y'all. Thanks a lot. Can't wait to come see your town. Coming soon. Thank you.
I'd already written this paper tonight prior to the events of last week with the fire down on Windjammer. Man, let me tell you, it was really cool being down there, seeing a lot of coffee beans in our community, running around helping one another, helping the homeowners, helping our public safety folks. It was awesome. TKK is absolutely a special place, and I don't see why we can't be the first coffee bean city. So how are we going to be the first coffee bean city? Well, I'm glad you asked. It started with me sending a positive message every single morning to department heads and them sharing those messages with their staff. Our next step was on June 9th with all of our staff together. Now I'm introducing it to you and those that are watching this meeting. In early July, I'm meeting with the principals of TKK, Gold Hill, and Kingstown Elementary, along with Gold Hill and Gold Hill Middle and Fort Mill High School principals. And I'm asking them to get coffee bean clubs started in their schools this coming fall. TKK Elementary and Gold Hill Middle are on board, and I'm hopeful the others will be too shortly after we meet. Very soon you're going to see signs like this popping up around town. They're going to have a little QR code on them, and that code will lead them to the Coffee Bean page on our website. This fall, we're introducing it to our youth sport coaches and our parents and asking them to sign positive pledges. We're going to replace coach on the back of the coaches' shirts with hashtag Be a Coffee Bean. As we replace our maintenance T-shirts that currently say staff on the back of them, we're changing staff to hashtag Be a Coffee Bean. We're going to meet with our TKK Connect liaisons. We're going to ask them to help us spread the message into their neighborhoods. We're going to ask our loyal social media fans to take pictures and share stories of how they or someone else was being a coffee bean. We're going to have our staff sending us pictures from the field, how a resident or a fellow coworker was being a coffee bean. We're going to celebrate and serve our people and live with optimism and compassion. Also this fall, we're going to start service Saturdays and try to do one per quarter. We're going to ask staff to volunteer their time and work alongside of residents to fix up the exteriors of homes for those that are in need. A few of our staff members are currently working on the details of that, and we can't wait to roll those details out in a few months. So council, as Damon said, I hope you're with us. Be a coffee bean. Be a coffee bean, everybody.
It's hard enough in here already.
That's nice.
You got your coffee bean shirt?
Dang it, Charlie.
How do we get more coffee bean shirts?
You gotta be a coffee bean first.
All right, for those of you who are wondering, this is Chris, and he's going to be talking about the bike pedestrian plan update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I wanted to update everybody and provide our initial recommendation on bike ped plan prioritization, which we've been working on. As everybody remembers, we put in the comprehensive plan back in 2020 a section on healthy living, which included a lot of bike and ped projects and an emphasis on that. And then in January of this year, council asked the planning commission to go look at the specific projects and provide a prioritized list. And I want to kind of tell you where we're at. In your packets, you should have a list of 52 projects that we've prioritized. We kind of looked at the top 20. I'll walk through that. But the methodology that we had is we came up with 52 projects from a variety of different sources, either in our citizen survey from 2018 and 2019, from the comprehensive plan, and from the RFATS bike ped plan, which was released in 2019, which has 5 or 6 projects that either are in the city or impinge on the city. We then looked at it from a community priority perspective, desirability, if you will. We looked at 6 different things: safety, network demand, economic benefit, recreational benefit, leverage of existing investments, and then some equity and transit access metrics. We have not looked at feasibility, how hard it's going to be, rights of way, those kinds of things. Those kinds of things we all agreed were going to be left for the city and staff to go look at. I'm not going to take your time to go through this. You have it in front of you. But basically, we had the RFATS scoring methodology, which we tailored to the city of TKK, because it really fell right on top of the things that are important to us. We just changed a couple of the things that were a little more county-wide that make them apply to the city. But if you go through the information you've got, you can see that how we put together scoring for what constituted a safety score, what constituted a network demand score, and on and down the list. Each of those criteria had a maximum score, and we tried to put the proper score against each project for where it fell in an honest and objective way. So there you can see economic benefit, recreational benefit. Economic basically is a project that gets people to commercial areas. They can walk to the store. Recreational benefit, they can walk to a high-grade destination, Catawba Park, for example. Leveraging existing investment. If we've already put infrastructure in, but there's a gap, can we close that gap? And equity is, are there disabled neighborhoods who are adversely impacted by the lack of access to quality bike, ped, transit? Do any of these projects add to that? And so the study outcomes came, and what we did is we basically looked at the top 20 projects, and we tried to see if there were any clear trends, and there was, actually, and it makes sense if you step back from it. Of those top 20, 15 of them ended up grouped in 3 kind of macro projects. And those 3 are a desire for a network of trails to connect what we called Greater Stonecrest, the non-peninsula part of the TKK, with the peninsula, primarily through the existing Beach Club multi-use trail. And there were 4 projects that came up with that theme. Trails, bike routes, and sidewalks to connect neighborhoods to Gold Hill elementary and middle schools. And there were 5 projects that kind of fell under that umbrella. And not surprisingly, 6 projects that talked about connection to Catawba Park as a destination. And one of the trails and segments that was included in that is the trail, the multi-use trail, for which we've gotten a guide share grant from RFAT, so that's great. 7 other projects made those lists, and I know that doesn't add up to 20, but there were some ties that we included. And you can kind of see some of them are things that you wouldn't have considered to be from the citizens. They came out of the RFATS plan, like a multi-use trail along 160 from Gold Hill Road to Stonecrest, but if it impinged on the city, it was included on our list, and it floated near the top. Some others that are easy, some others that are probably challenging, because they'll be multi-jurisdictional, but the list of the top 20 is in your material. Like I said, you also have the list of the top 52, so you can kind of see what those projects were. Some other interesting things that came out of that was Every single plan that came into our list from RFATS made the top 20. And so I think that kind of makes our scoring make sense in that it links to a broader context, right, in the other communities that we're connected with. And the other thing that was interesting, and I think I understand it, is crosswalks fell towards the middle bottom, and it's because they're already there. They don't provide any additional connectivity. And so our takeaway from that is the scoring probably penalized crosswalks a little bit, but we certainly don't think they should be lost and dropped off the city's priority list, and maybe there's a separate prioritization project there that should happen. So the specific recommendations that we came up with is we think the city should go look at these 3 macro projects, figure out what we need to do to identify some capital planning for those projects, identify the low-hanging fruit within those 15, because there are some, and then start working on the more challenging parts where it's more kind of multi-jurisdictional, where we'll have to work with SCDOT or RFATS to get money or somebody else like that. And recognizing that a couple of those projects are like that, look at some of the low-hanging fruit in the top 20 or maybe the top 30 projects, because some of those are on land the city already owns, probably not expensive to do. We should figure out a way to get some of those going and identify those ones that are probably really important to the city that are going to take some additional land or rights away or trail easements or something like that that we can start looking at. And then separately, like I said, continue to look at these software crosswalk safety upgrades. I know our first one's coming online shortly.
Right after July 4th.
Right, shortly. And so I think people will look forward to that. But those are the 3 significant recommendations. There's also some work to be done. Right at the end of our process, Chief Hasty and the fire department came and talked to the Planning Commission about a project they had done to put together E911 GPS coordinates. So there's an E911 address for trailheads. So if somebody is injured on the golf course or the trails, right? So we're going to sit with them and align all the trail names so that within the city we've got one common list so that there's no confusion between different trails. So we're going to do that shortly. Actually, at the beginning of July, we got a plan for that. Staff needs to go and look at the project feasibility part, at which, that's going to be challenging because it could be big money. It could be rights away. It could be a lot of different challenges. But I think that's the next thing that it'll do. And then there'll be a fresh list of recommended projects. And then I think what's up for staff and council is to start putting this into the annual budgeting and capital planning activity for the city. I think that's it for my part. You've got a lot more detail in your packets that you received, so hopefully that's useful.
Thank you, Chris. You, the Planning Commission, you clearly put a lot of work and effort into this. I really like your rubric. I think all of the categories make sense. I like how you ranked them. It's great. Thank you. Thank you for putting the work in.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, let's move on to item number 2, public comments. First on the list is Betsy O'Brien. And you want to talk about first responders, mental health?
Yes.
Just pull that, there you go, pull that
Yeah,
down.
pretty short. All right, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name's Betsy O'Brien. I actually live in Tegakay, and I love Tegakay. I've been here for 22 years. I am the executive director of the National Alliance of Mental Illness for Piedmont Tri-County, and the Tri-County includes Chester, Lancaster, and York counties. So NAMI Piedmont Tri-County wants to bring better solutions for those in crisis with a mental health condition. The statistics for mental health challenges prior to the pandemic were these: 1 in 5 youth and 1 in 4 adults live with a diagnosable mental health condition. That can be anything from ADD, anxiety, depression, bipolar illness, all the way up through schizophrenia. So currently, 1 in 3 adults now are reporting symptoms of anxiety and depression. Financial strain, social isolation, substance use, and suicidal ideation is negatively impacting our children. The response to people experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis is law enforcement. And understandably, our police officers and first responders were never meant to or have been adequately trained to deal with psychiatric crises. Some, of course, they have had some training, but overall, not so much. Studies have shown that more than 20% of law enforcement time was spent responding to and often transporting persons with a mental illness to either hospitals or jail, not what they were intending to take these jobs to do. NAMI Piedmont Tri-County wants to be part of a solution to develop a collaborative approach to crisis prevention. In this way, we can all better impact the community where we live and serve. Tonight, my ask of you is to have TGK law enforcement officers, fire, and EMS trained in either a 2-hour or 35-hour crisis intervention training course. These are free to the first responders. These conditions do not discriminate that I've just talked about. They touch us all directly or indirectly. I visited our Rock Hill City Council, and 2 days later, they had booked a 35-hour course for their law enforcement folks, and they're going to adapt those who aren't in that longer course to having them receive the 2-hour course so that they can better help cope with training and deal with the folks that we live with that are challenged with mental health conditions. So I did talk with our friend Sheriff, Lancaster Sheriff Barry Fail the other day, and he has the 35-hour course every single year for his sheriff's department. And he said on 6/14, our staff really appreciates the training we get from crisis intervention training through NAMI. We are also in discussions of about expanding that program throughout the agency. Our goal is to have every patrol officer go through 35 hours of the training so we can continue to strive to make this happen. We do appreciate the partnership and know it is a vital service to those we serve and provide to the community here in Lancaster. So my ask is that we talk about perhaps engaging some of the first responders, all first responders, when they're dealing with folks that are having challenges, because they do affect us all, and now it's really quite prevalent. It was prevalent before. And one of the things I do with the students when we go to schools, and they will, I ask how many students are in this class and in this whole school. Well, if there's 2,000 and we know that 1 in 5 are living with a diagnosable mental health condition prior to the pandemic, think about how many kids are walking around. And we do that everywhere we go, and we try to figure out who is having challenges and they're having difficulties. We want to make sure everybody is able to do what they can. And we want to be part of a solution even longer than that, but this is a good first step. Any questions for me?
Thanks, Betsy. Just a couple. Where do you hold the training and who facilitates it?
The facilitation is done by NAMI South Carolina. They are retired law enforcement officers, and and we have a whole, there's like the Department of Mental Health is involved, Disabilities and Special Needs is involved. Anybody who has anything to do with a potential mental health crisis is, excuse me, there to share their knowledge with those who are taking the course. We've had dispatchers in the course. We've had anybody who deals with any of the calls, just so they can kind of have a little empathy or a better understanding about what may be going on.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And
That's a
it
very
is
generous
free.
offer. I'm sure you'll be hearing from TK very soon.
Okay, great. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Is one quick question. The 35-hour course, is that like all 1 week, or is that
It's all
spread
1
out?
week.
Okay.
It's all
Whole
1 week.
Okay.
And then there can be those 2-hour intervals where you can train the other police officers. But the beauty of it is for someone who has a mental health crisis, a parent, a spouse, whatever, you call and you can ask for a crisis intervention trained officer, and they come in with just a lot more knowledge. De-escalates the situation.
Awesome.
Okay? Thank you
you.
for your time.
Thanks.
All right, next for public comments is Joe. Is that Razor? Razum.
Yeah, like razzle dazzle.
All right. Then razzle dazzle us.
Yeah, I'll try and do that, and can't see the clock from over here, so I'll run my timer here. Yeah, so I will try and razzle dazzle you with 3 topics: education, saving trees, and economic development, all in 3 minutes. How do you like that? So, first of all, Honorable Mayor, City Council, City staff, distinguished guests, appreciate your time. Thank you for your service. I want to talk first about education and service. I volunteer my time as part of a travel softball team called the Palmetto Fury. We're based out of TGK. We're the #1 team in South Carolina. 12U softball, and we weave STEM education into our training. We do have Joey to thank for helping get us going, because back in the day, Joey formed a travel ball team, and my daughter was so passionate about that experience that she went on to inspire me to further it. So the interesting thing about the softball team is that these are middle school age girls that are, at risk for STEM, and we weave STEM education into, how do you throw a curveball, and a lot of, how does a pitching machine motor work. So we have some YouTube videos out there, help the girls not only excel in school, but also in sports. So it's something TKK just wanted to make you be aware of, that's based out of here. And the ask for that is just if you could work with us on in-kind field capabilities. We do have to go out to Fort Mill Middle School nowadays to get a field. It'd be great if, we say we're based out of TKK, it'd be great if we could really be based out of TKK. So that's one bullet. Number 2 is about saving trees. I live out beyond the number 10 hole here, up high on the hill, and the cart path runs behind our house and to the side of our house. And like many people these days, we're looking to get a pool. And if we run the pool horizontally with the house, we're gonna take out twice as many trees. That's just the way the land goes. There's a lot of property that the city owns and doesn't use, and we actually keep it up. It helps keep up the area. And we're wondering about the process for requesting an encroachment. I inquired about that, if I could get some details on that.
We will have you an email this week.
Okay, thanks. Because the surveyor, I understand you have to get a survey, and we want to make sure we understand the process on that. We'd like to save some trees in the process. And then number 3 is about growth opportunities for TKK. 3D Systems brought me here to the area. They're based out of Rock Hill. They do 3D printing. I've done some STEM education on 3D printing as well. But the point there is when I did some of that training, the city incubator of Rock Hill was run by a fellow named David Warner, and he's retiring. He has a great track record of experience of building incubators and startups in Rock Hill. And that's something that I thought, I'm not aware of an incubator here in TKK.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
And such a person could be helpful, whether on a consulting basis or he's running a podcast, so I could help make that connection.
David Warner?
Yeah,
Can you get me his information?
absolutely. Sure, Gus. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Is that
Thank
it?
you.
I mean, do
That's
you need
it.
more time?
No, I hit all the bullets, I think.
Since you're right there on number 10, you wouldn't want to use that pool right there next to the green?
Yeah, that one's a little, yeah.
A little swampy there.
Yeah, we need to clean
That
that one
might
out a
save you
little
some
bit.
money, just go taking a dip in there every once in a while.
Yeah,
Joe,
Go
can we make
plant a
sure we
whole-
get your contact information so we can get back to you on a couple of those questions?
absolutely.
Is
Yeah.
is it on the sign-in sheet? Is your email?
Well, I got a cleaner version of that.
Okay, cool.
I'll search.
Thanks. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else that came in late that want to make a comment? Come on, you can do the right thing if you want. All right, I offered. Okay, next is item number 3, approval of minutes. Council, do you have any additions, subtractions, or changes? Seeing none, they stand as published. Item number 4 is committee reports. Let's start with Economic Development Commission.
So, it was an unofficial meeting on the 24th because there was not a quorum. There were 4 members. The first topic we talked about were possibly incubator grants. Seriously? I want to say this the right way. We approached a local developer about, I'm sorry.
Be a coffee bean.
We approached a local developer about possibly, thank you so much, Heather, about possibly building a shell of a building, a vanilla building as it was termed. So instead of having the higher rent and harder features to pay for, to make a shell of a building that smaller businesses, local businesses, unique businesses, and that's what the EDC keeps talking about, is we have a limited amount of space here in TKK that we can put commercial development. So try and bring in, instead of chains and national franchises, things that would be unique to our area, and preferably things that would be local residents, if not TKK, at least somewhere in the area. So there's a lot that has to be done to make that happen, but we did approach this person, and he was amenable to the idea. It was also a subcommittee was formed to come up with criteria. If this can be pulled off and if we can make it happen, what would the criteria to be to qualify for one of these grants? So that's being worked on as we speak. There were some specific things laid out, and hoping to get things moving on that very quickly. That's what we're going to focus on now, this one thing. We decided rather than scattershot here, there, and everywhere, to go on one thing. That was the highlight. The other thing, we did talk about some options for the game off property. Stay tuned. There may be some good things to come there as well soon. That's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. Let's go now to the Planning Commission.
All right. Good evening, council member, mayor, and council. Just a couple things. We had Fire Chief Hasty come and talk to us, present to the Planning Commission on the emergency services trail map data that Chairman Leonard had mentioned earlier. There was a deferral of one of our items, approval of a final plat for Windhaven Phase 2. They're deferring that until our next regular meeting. Let's see, discussion of the rezoning of 2 parcels from RD1 in the county to Stonecrest PDD in the city as part of a 100% annexation petition. And that's the 2 parcels that are, let's see, across from, right next to you. What was it?
Across from Discount Tire.
Yeah, across from Discount Tire. Thank you. So discussion about that. And then we also discussed when we'd have our regular meeting, which is now going to be on July 12th. I guess it's going to actually be a joint public hearing and a special meeting. Is that right, Chairman? Okay. The other thing that we went over was, of course, asked Chairman Leonard to come here tonight and present to you on the bike and ped connection plan that he did earlier. And so thanks again for all your hard work. And I know that there were many members of the Planning Commission as well that assisted in that development of that presentation and the data. So thank you again to the Planning Commission. And there's also discussion on the stormwater policies and regulations. Planning Commission is going to go back and take a look at what they've come up with so far. I believe there's 10 recommendations that they're considering right now. I'm happy to pass this along to you all. I started the ones that I really thought would be easy to do. I'll start on this side, Brian, if you want to take a look at it. But they'll take a look at that again and vote on it at their next meeting, and then hopefully we'll see that here at either a meeting in July or August. Probably August. Okay. Yep. And the next thing you know, I'm finished.
Awesome. Chris, how long have you been serving on the Planning Commission?
Since 2015.
We appreciate your service. I know it's been a while now. Thanks for stepping up and serving the city.
Think about running for mayor? I tried. I'd ask everybody every day. All right, let's go to TK Forever.
So I don't know if y'all heard, we broke ground on a 62-acre multifaceted facility this morning called Catawba Park. So big day for TKK. We had a great turnout. Everybody showed up. We are excited for the next year and a couple months, and hopefully we'll be out there next fall playing sports and having activities and going to concerts, and we're very excited. Also today, and this ties back into the TKK Forever meeting, the brick program, the Buy a Brick program, and benches are now available for sale starting today. So you can do that via Civic Rec, which is our webpage or site that we use to sign up for sports programs. But you can also do your Buy a Brick through there. And make sure there is a limited amount, and we are offering it for just a limited time, probably like 6 months or so. So don't wait. Buy it as soon as you can, because those will hopefully go quickly, and all of that will go towards back into Catawba Park. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, July 13th, and we're going to do both the July and the August meeting via Zoom, just because everybody's schedules are kind of hectic this summer with travel. So we will make sure that that link gets posted out there for anybody who wants to dial in. And that's it.
Any questions? None? Thank you, Heather. Let's move on to item number 5A. This is the introduction and first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 5, Divisions 2 and 3 of the City Code of Ordinances, Purchasing Budget Fiscal Control Policy. This is the revised version of an updated purchasing ordinance that we have been discussing for the past several months. As you recall, council did have a first reading of an ordinance similar to this one. After some discussion at our last council meeting, council has elected to not do a second reading of this ordinance and instead do a new introduction and a first reading of this new ordinance. Thank you to Councilmember Dash and staff for the time they have spent on this document. You want to tell us what the changes are, Alicia?
All right, so, actually, I don't have them pulled up like.
Do you have that not pulled up? Okay, well, we all got it. Just
I
want
can
to know
try
if
to,
you
I
would
can
share
try
it.
based on memory. So we talked about this at our last council meeting. So we added a few more definitions. We took a look at the State Ethics Act and where we thought it was important to highlight regulations that the State Ethics Act has in regards to defining, let's see, we defined
Family.
trying to remember, yeah, thank you. Family definitions, council appointed
Public
positions.
members, candidates.
Thank you. And made some just grammatical error or corrections throughout it where necessary. Made sure some language was consistent in terms of whether it said up to or including, like, you know, $999 versus $1,000, things like that. So just some clerical things, and that was pretty much it. Sorry, I don't have it summarized in front of me.
That's right.
It's been a while.
Are there any questions or comments?
I think there was a question about Section 2-216-12 in regards to change orders and how we wanted to handle that going forward. So the proposed in the policy is currently listed that any change orders, I believe over 20, you want to read it maybe? I don't have it pulled
So
up.
what you've got, as I emailed council previously today, at the bottom of page 9, where you have your authority chart or spending authorities chart, in one of those, sorry, I'm trying to get to page 9. In one of the boxes down below it, it says change orders require the approval of finance director or city manager. And then if you go down to page 20, which is the section that Ms. Overman referenced, which is section 2-216-12 or number 12, where it specifically talks about change orders. It says that, if I can get, there it is, modifications to the contract or change orders that are greater than 15% of the original contract price or exceeds $25,000 must receive prior authorization by city council. Any change order that causes a substantial material change to the overall project, regardless of whether it be an aggregate increase or decrease in the total cost of the project, must be authorized by council. And in my email earlier to council today, those two appear to conflict. One of them needs to be changed or deleted, and that's in y'all's hands. Staff is willing to go which direction council wants to go there.
If we choose to eliminate 12, I mean, do we need to make a motion or just?
You would need to include it in your motion to approve tonight, if that is what you're considering doing, and then we would clean that up prior to your second read next month, or in a few weeks here.
Yeah, eliminate on page 9.
Eliminate it from the chart? Oh, wait. From the chart or from section 12?
It would be the
Section
section
12 has more specific.
2-216-12.
Okay, so you're wanting the one in the chart to stay that says change orders require the approval of finance director or city manager versus the one that requires council approval with 15%.
Only because with the large, just thinking of the large-scale projects we have going on right now and how often change orders come through. Having a special meeting every time we have to make a change order could delay those projects significantly. And I just think that the city manager, that's his job, our finance director, that's their job. And so, should we need to intervene or feel differently about a change order or request that goes through, we can deal directly with them. But I want to make sure that things go smoothly and we stay on budget and on schedule as much as possible.
And no reason to have a meeting every change. We'll be up here several times a month.
I agree.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, do it.
Okay. Motion to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 5, Divisions 2 and 3 of the city's code ordinances, purchasing, budget, and fiscal control. And also, I want to mention, we would be deleting Section 2-216-12 out of the second, for the final and second read.
All right, I have a motion from Heather Overman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Ryan Richard. Is that his name? Okay. Any other comments before we vote? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Let's go to new business, 6A. This is the bid award for classification and compensation study. The city advertised and received four bids qualified from various consulting groups that perform this type of service. The city has used the Archer Group previously, and staff has recommended them to perform the study. Classification and compensation studies should be performed periodically to ensure salary scales are up to date and competitive in the marketplace. And this is around $13,250. I want to remind, you pass that down. Did you get that one too? The MASC also does this. The MASC has one that they update every year that we worked quite extensively on the last couple of years. It goes through and polls every city and municipality around, whoever participates. So we kind of got it just for free.
They're not the same thing, Mayor.
How is it different?
The thing, if what you're referring to on the MASC website, that is just information supplied by whatever cities that do respond. It's not a compensation and classification study. It doesn't include a market rate analysis or any of those types of things.
It's called the compensation survey. They poll
Right, they
all
survey the cities, correct.
Right.
But
So
it's not a compensation and classification study. It's not going to give you grades, salary grade scales like a compensation classification study does. It's just basically, hey, cities, if you want to send us your information, send us the information. Some of them do ranges, some of them give specific salaries. It's not the what we put out for bid. They're not even close to being the same thing.
Well, how difficult is it to classify a job? Is that what you're trying to do? You're doing a description?
I mean, I don't have, no, sir. We're not talking about job description. We're talking about their salaries, not just the scales.
The salaries
but
are on the
each
survey. It's the other
position
thing.
Each position gets a grade.
A grade.
A grade, okay? So where this position may be a grade 12, another position may be a grade 19. And your salary scales go along with those. And through the process of doing that, they are looking at job descriptions, they're looking at actual duties, and then they're comparing those not only to other cities in our area, in our state, in our region, they're also comparing them to private sector as well to make sure that where we're at is competitive in the job market. We haven't had a market rate analysis done in Dora probably 15 years. And the last compensation study we had was back in 2013, so 8 years ago. But the thing that's on MASC is just basically a survey of the cities, and the ones that do respond, here's the information. And they don't even, not all of them, at least as I've looked through it, not all of them put in scales for every single position that's listed. Not everybody has the same positions.
Let me
So
just read
they're-
what that says
they're
from
definitely
the
not the same.
website. The Municipal Association of South Carolina online compensation survey gives cities and towns an easy way to compare their employee pay with the pay of other cities around the state. I think that's what you just said. With this tool, the municipal leaders can save time when researching pay data while making decisions on how to competitively set their compensation levels. Same thing you just said. The results of the 2021 survey are available online. The survey data allows for researchers to generate specific reports. For example, users can create reports for municipalities of a particular population range, or specific job positions. Reports can also include the number of full-time employees or the annual payroll of a particular city or town. Other search functions include salary ranges, merit raise, minimums, or maximums. Same thing you just said. And a range of cost of living adjustment. Users can also export all of the compensation survey data into Excel spreadsheets, and they can download the entire compensation survey as a report of a PDF. So, I mean, I've been to MASC for these things for 6 years now. We've been talking about exactly this. We need some way to compare our salaries to other cities' salaries. And this is what they generated, and they update it every year. So I'm just wondering, why are we paying $13,500? I don't see any difference personally. I mean, you say there's little minute differences. I think if you just dug down into that, you might be able to get all the stuff you really need out of here.
Well, I guess my question is, do we have an issue with employee retention?
From time to time, yes, sir.
And so,
And it depends on department. Yeah, I mean, obviously in 2020, no. But yeah, I mean, we lose police officers, we lose fire officers, and it's not just to Fort Mill or just to York County. I mean, we've lost firefighters up to Charlotte, things like that. I mean, I'm not going to argue the point, but what the municipal association puts online is not what we put the RFP out for. It is not a compensation and classification study. It does not include any type of market rate analysis. It's just information that gets supplied by HR managers that choose to respond.
It
So
sounds
if-
like what you're putting out to bid is they're going to get on this website and they're going to interpret it for you
No,
to
sir.
what's on here.
That's not what they do.
But I think we talked, it's been a couple of years, but I think we had, one of the proud things we were about our city was our retention rate, I believe, was 87% at one time. I think we came up with that figure one time, so. I know we have people come and go in every job. I just wonder if it's 13,000 well spent versus, I mean, if you can give it a shot using the MASC and see if it works.
So has anybody looked at the report? I pulled it up briefly, but I haven't dug into it.
Actually, I'd like to maybe give it more time so I can do that. I mean, I got it over the weekend and got very busy doing stuff. Would a consideration be that we table this for a while so we can all go and look at it and see what the differences are? And maybe we can find what the difference is between what the contractor is going to do and what MASC offers?
Well, let me ask a question too. So we put this out to bid. The contract amount does not exceed $13,250,000. So $13,250. Sorry,
Yes.
excuse me. So the city manager can approve contracts up to $25,000 without council approval, correct? And with the current procurement ordinance, you have the authority to approve
I think it's up to
contracts.
$25,000, yes.
Okay. So I guess my question would be, well, does council really need to make a decision on this? It seems like you have the authority, if you feel like this is the best decision for the city. I guess I don't understand why it's on the agenda. Is there, and maybe I just don't know, some sort of technicality, but if you have the authority to do it, and you think it's the best decision, then it's well within your right to go ahead and execute that contract without us even voting on it up here.
I'm more than willing to wait till July 12th. If y'all want to look up more information, we can even get the Archer Group up here to explain their entire process on July 12th, if that's what you want to do.
Well, why don't
If
you
y'all
just
got
do it,
questions.
like she said, just if it's in with your purview now to do it.
Is council giving me that?
You already have it.
You have
yeah,
it.
you're the CEO.
There's been a lot of conversations about what decisions I should and should not make, and since then, I have been bringing all of those to council to have those conversations in the spirit of being transparent, as I've been asked to do. So if I'm hearing tonight that it's go make the decision and do what's best, then that's what I'm gonna, then sure. But I have been bringing decisions like this to council for well over a year now. And if y'all have got more questions, that is fine. I want to get those questions answered for you so that we can move forward in a positive fashion on this.
I think we expect you to follow the rules and regulations that govern the city, and so if this falls within your purview, I think you have the full right to go ahead and make that decision if you feel, as the city manager, that that's the best decision to make. That's my opinion on this item.
I agree. It's the way it's written.
So-
Again, we pay you to be the CEO of the city. If it's something that you feel is important and needs to happen, employee retention, whether it is or is not a thing, if you feel it helps your department heads make decisions that are important that help retain staff and do things the right way, then That's on you.
But I think I hear what you're saying is, you get to make the decision, but if we don't like it after you make it, then we can be upset with you, right?
Well, that's the, that's the position.
You ought to be married to who I'm married to. Come on, man.
So I
That's why
think
we
to
pay you.
Charlie's
Nailed it, Mayor.
point,
That's why
Nailed
we
it.
pay
Right
you
on the
the big
right on the
bucks.
nose.
I think to Charlie's point, we asked him to be more transparent. He has brought things forward so that we can, not only for us to see it, but for the public to see it so that everybody knows what's going on in the city. So I think kudos to you for doing that. In every single organization I have ever worked for, there have been compensation studies on an ongoing basis. And I mean, I remember getting a $26,000 raise one time, and I about fell out of my chair. But these are normal things that happen both in the public and private sectors. They happen in every single organization. And if we want to retain and recruit and have the best talent, then this is something that I think we need to look at and consider and move forward with. With the jobs and openings everywhere right now, it's very easy for somebody to leave and go somewhere else for a 50-cent increase or a $1 increase. And we don't want that to happen. We've invested money into them. We've invested training into them. They are our best asset. They are what makes this city run, and we want to keep the best. So if I were asked to vote on this tonight, which doesn't sound like we're even going in that direction, I would move forward with it.
Well, I already think we do have the best people
Yeah,
around.
for sure.
I was running a business, like say Ryan is running a business. I would hate for some outside organization to tell me what I'm supposed to pay my people, and I'm already 100% employed, or I already got all the people that I need. I can find all the people that I want whenever I need them. But now I've got some other outside person I'm going to pay some amount to tell me I should be paying this or that. It's just, I mean, I think the marketplace should do that.
If it's normal business, then there shouldn't be a problem. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Clear
we
as
just
mud?
take it off the agenda?
You have an item on the agenda for consideration, so
I would
there
like
either needs
to
be a
make a motion to table item 6A for a later date to be considered.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah, all opposed? Okay, there you go. Now let's move on to the city manager's report. Item number 7, Charlie Funderburk.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just a few quick things. One, hate I missed it, but heard the concert was very well attended, and everybody had a great time this past Saturday night. Don't forget, we do have a concert coming up July the 3rd. We don't typically do one, but Model A Brewery came to us with the idea, said they'd pay for it. So same time, same location, all that good stuff, and we'll be up at Rundy on July 3rd. Trash and recycle schedule will be delayed by one day, the week of July 5th. So trash collection will be on Tuesday, the 6th. And if it's your week for recycling, that will be on Wednesday, the 7th. Ms. Overman already mentioned the groundbreaking, but thank you to council. Thank you for everyone that came. Very well attended. We're excited. Contractor will begin very, very soon, getting their silt fence and sediment and erosion control measures in. And then we'll be motoring right along. And last but certainly not least, there's budget, just a reminder, budget meeting next Tuesday here. So for those that are playing along that have budget requests or want to participate in that process, it will be a public open meeting. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let's go to council comments. We'll start with Ryan Richard.
Mine's the usual. Thanks, police and fire, for helping make this city great and safe. Appreciate all you guys do, Charlie and staff. You know, you guys knock it out of the park on a regular basis. Broke ground at Catawba Park. I wasn't able to attend this morning, but that's an awesome milestone and the things that we've been working towards for years now. So thanks, council and staff, for all their hard work in making that happen and getting creative from a financial perspective to be able to pull it off. Aside from that, that's all I got.
Alicia?
I'll second Ryan on Catawba Park. Just thanks to TK Forever and Heather, your leadership with that committee, and staff. Joey, congrats. we're glad you're here. And I will just highlight, I know I have water in here now, but I had my first cup of TKK Coffee Company coffee, and it was delicious. So if you have not had a chance to have this yet, I highly recommend you find out where they are and you go try it, because
I don't know if you could say that after we pass the second reading of the. new
because
procurement
now that we are the
policy.
coffee bean city, we support the TKK Coffee Company. So thank you, staff. I'll just say as well, Model A concert last weekend was awesome. Great job, guys. Well attended, and it was a fun time. Weather was perfect. Thanks, Charlie, for doing this. This is fun. I love the inspiration that you set for this meeting, and of course, thanks, chiefs and staff, for all your hard work, and know that there was a challenging fire, and appreciate all you guys did, and hope everyone is recovering okay from that. So thanks. Is that-
So we had a lot of really good presentations tonight, so thank you to Charlie for the Coffee Bean City. I'm excited to see where that goes. Chris with the bike ped plan, and it was really nice to meet you too, Betsy. Thank you so much for coming. I want to extend, my I don't know, not gratitude. That's the wrong word. Thoughts to the Bedard family who had the fire this past, what was it, just a few days ago, I guess. So thank you to our amazing fire department. PD showed up. Rashad, the FedEx guy, who rang the doorbell and got him out. Neighbors, staff, everybody who kind of rallied around the family, bringing waters down. It was luckily it wasn't tragic, but it was a terrible incident, and we all came together as a community. I'm like tripping over all these words. It sounds terrible. Catawba Park again, so that's very exciting. I'm excited to see where that goes, and then also the concert. I'm so glad it cooled off and it wasn't 100 degrees out there, and I really liked Euphonics, so make sure they come back next year, because I know all the words to all the songs. It was so exciting. That's it.
Well, when you go second to last, as we all know, there's not much left. Catawba Park, yay. Congratulations, Joey. Chris, that was a lot of work you guys put into the bike ped plan, and thank you. Chief Hasty, and I know Chief Parker's not here, but the first responders, that's an amazing job. And I do have one thing that nobody else has mentioned. Tonight at 9 o'clock on NBC, TKK's own Austin Hare, former world champion wakeboarder and wake skater, is going to be on American Ninja Warrior. So if you have a moment, we don't have that many people on TV in TKK, especially for the right reasons, and this is the right reason. So tune in to watch Austin and cheer him on, okay?
Well, okay, if you think going second to last is bad, wait till you be last. So thank you for everybody, what they just said. I just want to remind everybody that the most fun you'll ever have in your life in TKK is the 4th of July weekend. And if you miss the 4th of July weekend in TKK, fine, that's more fun than that. You've got the ski show on Friday, the parade on Saturday, followed by concert Saturday night, followed by fish fry Sunday, and the fireworks Sunday. So a
And
full week,
David's
and we have
State of the
Monday off.
City.
What's that?
David's State of the City address.
It's already been taped.
I mean,
It's on a-
that's what I'm most looking forward to, I think.
Well, you'll see it
Yeah.
on a loop for hours and hours and
Oh, good.
hours. And that way, I get to spend time on 4th of July with my family instead of sitting around watching the time and, watching everybody have a drink, and I can't do anything until. So this way, I get to. It's probably going to be the way to do it from now on. I think it's just so much easier that way. And
Were you scripted?
I had a script. Yeah, I can't talk for 76 minutes without a script. So it's the most pleasant 76 minutes you'll ever watch.
Fish fry tickets are on sale, people.
Oh, executive session.
And with that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn and move to executive session. Second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.